Hey folks, my name is Miguel Alvarado. I'm a chain player from Denver, Colorado in the United States, and I'm here today to show you a couple of chain techniques that I think will help you out. So I'm going to start with, for me, what I consider to be the basics. Now, the way most chain players play is they will use their forward arm, whether it's left or right. You'll see a lot of this motion. You see a lot of slack between their hands, and as they go, the motion and the strength comes from their forward arm, their forward foot, the muscles on this side of their body. And as they extend, there's a whole lot of power coming from this section. Now, what I prefer to do is balance it out a little bit. The section of chain that exists between my hands here is almost always very tense. And the reason I do that is because it allows both arms to have some control of what's going on. As my right arm pushes, my left arm then pulls. That way, half of the force is through forward, half of the force is through backwards. So that allows my chain to have a lot more control. I can change what I'm doing. I can change stance and motion and things like that very quickly, very simply. It also means that my entire body, all I have to do is take a step and my chain accelerates significantly because there's two anchor points here, because my chain is responding to more than just the fulcrum. It responds to everything that's going on. All of my inertia takes place in what happens at the end of the ball. Now, there's a couple ways to build on that. The easiest one is going to be in your footwork. Now, the usual stance, my opponents would see me do is I'll take a swing and then take a step back. The reason I do that is because it builds a lot of inertia. Because if I throw a strike out, let's assume I'm playing a staff player or so and they block it, if my ball is dead in the water, I can just recover from here, but it would depend on the length of my arms and what motion I have here for a recovery. But if I take a step back, even a small one, all I've got to do is take this motion, and because of the way the chain's energy is extended across my entire body, that motion gives this ball significant acceleration into a recovery. And a lot of players will say, okay, well, why that extra step? Well, that speed in recovery, even though you're giving them a little distance, that ball gets moving so much faster, you can then become a threat once again. And you don't necessarily have to take a step, but that's just, again, one example. Any motion that I take with this chain, using this tension between my hands, becomes inertia for the ball. Because if I take a step this way, same thing, back, forth, however I want to do it, as I move, the chain accelerates. I can put less effort into swinging it and more effort into running, moving, being a dynamic player on the field and supporting my teammates, because it frees up motion, it frees up energy for me. That's not to say that you can slack on things like cardio and strength, because again, you're activating all of the muscles across your chest and your core. So it's still important for you to be very strong and have good cardio to maintain chain, because it still takes a lot of energy. So don't slack on that. Now the next big thing here is, of course, your subtlety. Because you've got two hands going here, you can get this thing going really, really fast without putting a whole lot of energy into it. A whole lot of usually if you're really just using one hand, you gotta get it going. There's motion, there's movement here. It's very, very obvious. But if I'm using my entire body, the motions the activations of the muscles here can be significantly more subtle. So I can swing this chain very quickly without tiring out my right arm. My left arm, my body, my core, I'm putting a lot more energy into this section of my body. Now, that's important because when I swing, I don't want my opponent to know that I'm coming at them. So the release here becomes significantly stronger, because as I go, you generally see there's this lower reaction time from the opponent because there's less hint of what I'm about to do. That being said, doing this doesn't just necessarily mean you're going to be subtle. You still have to make sure that you're in your stance as you go, but assuming this is your natural position, you can then move from this into a strike very easily. Now, the options there, I'll leave it to you, because the combination potential really depends on your style. Every chain player will have different swings they like, different angles they prefer, whether it's overhand, the sideways, or however you want to take it. But this is a base from which to extend upon. The thing I was going to build on earlier, the practical recovery, is when ball is out and ball is dead in the water, right? This stance where I was talking about moving back, the reason I emphasize that is because the inertia of my body accelerates the ball. But again, I can skip that step, and the reason I tell you that is as one possible option. If I take a swing and I reorient myself just a little bit using my offhand, now I can use my offhand to emphasize the recovery instead of emphasizing the swing. You might say, well, why would you want a weaker swing in exchange for recovery? And the reason you would do that so that you can continue to apply pressure on a chain brake that's also going to apply pressure on you. And the idea here is that you can swing over and over and over again very, very quickly and with a lot of power without sacrificing much accuracy. Now, here as an example, I'll go like so. Swing, recover, swing, recover, swing, recover, swing, recover, and notice that every time as I do that, there's tension between my hands. So instead of just swinging with my right arm, my left arm is pulling it across just as quickly. It's a full body motion every time. And that allows you to move the chain very quickly where you want it to be, how you want it to be. Another example of that is, for example, you're playing, for example, and a staff reaches out trying to deflect the chain. Instead of wrap it up, they just want to hit the ball and reduce your inertia. What you can do is, again, instead of having that ball knocked away, even if it's hit, assuming it goes the other way, you can just take all this energy right here, a twist back, and it's ready to go. Instead of having to move back, instead of doing a full recovery, very simple, subtle motions can give the chain tremendous amounts of acceleration, which gives you, again, a lot of potential. Let you play with that as you want. The last thing I will suggest, very, very important, don't forget to include your VTEC stickers to accelerate your rotation. That extra 5 horsepower, can't say enough about it. And really, that's all I've got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck, all the chain players out there. I hope this helps you.